All right, so Dana Sande, City Council President, the guest on Episode 5 already of the Jarrod Thomas Show podcast. Dana, of course, has been with the City Council, 16, 17 years?
15, almost finishing 15 years.
15 years. Yep. Man. Mm-hmm. Is this going to be it?
On the fence?
Really?
Yeah, I'm still on the fence. I don't know. I've been saying it's going to be it, but I'm on the fence. Yeah, the kids are, they're moved out and they're on... I sit around the house. It's quiet. I don't sit around really.
Well, no, you don't.
But it's not the same, right? And so this is one of those things that is just part of my life, right? So I don't know. I'm debating. I'd like to run again. It has a lot to do with what Megan thinks, and so we haven't officially talked about it, but she's generally laughed and said she knows that I'm going to run again. So probably one more time, maybe one more time.
Well, what is it that you think keeps you wanting to do it? Do you like being involved? Do you like being behind the curtain? Do you just like trying to make a difference?
I'm not behind the curtain. There's no curtain with me.
Well, you know what I mean.
That. I'm not calling people and asking.
No. Here's let me clarify that a little bit. Behind the curtain, what I mean is, if there's going to be a big development in the north end of the city, generally you are one of the first, not always the first, but one of the first people to know, because you have a stake in whether or not that development happens. You get an opportunity to ask questions, all those things. That's what I mean behind the curtain. Sure. I don't believe you're out calling other people wondering.
I think I have a like Danny. Like, we're born and raised in Grand Forks. Mm-hmm. Right? I have a unique perspective. My grandfather owned a business in town, a very large business, and my dad was a doctor in town, and my mom professional volunteer, and put her work in on the city council, and I feel like I have a good sense of what Grand Forks is and what Grand Forkers want, and so I always kind of feel, and I don't mean to come off like I know everything, but I feel like I have a good understanding of when I'm hearing project ideas and things. I just kind of know whether people in the community are going to be up for it or not. Of course, I'm not always right. I certainly know that, but I feel like I'm a good litmus test for things that are going on in the community.
I've had a working theory for a very long time about Grand Forks. I grew up in East Grand Forks, have lived in East Grand Forks or Grand Forks majority of my life, sans 8 months in Fargo. I feel the same way about Fargo as you do. They shouldn't expect me to be a resident anytime soon. Right. With that in mind, I believe that in Grand Forks we have a little bit of an issue with growth, and here's what I mean. Discounted grocery store, good growth. Corn milling plant on the north end of town, bad growth.
Bad growth. Yeah.
And I've always wondered how much that, how much that, do you think about that kind of thing? Agristo seems to be coming in. They're kind of the latest and greatest big project. Mm-hmm. This is going to be a big deal for our community. Buckle up, here we go. And you can find people that think this is a bad idea for our community. We like what we like. Yep. We like it the size that it is. Yep. We don't want it to change much. Again, discounter grocery store, good growth. Right. The rest of it, I don't know. Aquarium at Kmart Mall years ago. Oh, God. Well, we can't. Oh, what do we do? Pitchfork Nation comes out like nothing you've ever seen. Right. And in hindsight, it's a bit ridiculous, really. And here we are today. So I'm curious your thoughts on some of that.
I think the older generation, we're getting to be part of that generation. We're finicky people. We just are. And my aunts and uncles that are still alive and around town, they're kind of that ilk. They like things the way they are, because things are good. Right. I mean, Grand Forks is a great place. It's a nice place to raise your family. We've got, the university, for as frustrating as sometimes the way the university operates, they are such a huge part of our community. They provide think of how educated our community is just because of the university is here. And it gives us an opportunity because of the university to retain young people. But what that does is it educates young people who like different things. Right. And then the older folks don't like that they're all these whippersnappers that have new ideas. Right. So and I get it. I'm becoming more that way myself. I just am. I was having a discussion with Rebecca Osowski the other day, And we were talking about the fact that on social issues, I'm much more socially liberal than when I got on the council. But I'm also that way for a reason, because I'm thinking about it, not because I actually believe in the socially liberal ideas,
right,
but because there are other people other than me. And so I try to put myself in other people's positions and in their heads, and how are they thinking, and how many other people feel that way and are thinking that way, and who's next in line in our community to be the community leaders and running businesses and those sorts of things, and will these things help them? So I have voted for and against things that I completely disagree with.
Sure.
But I've done that specifically because I think it's what's right for the community, not because of how I feel about it.
Mayor Boczynski did his once-in-a-while State of the City address yesterday.
Mm-hmm. Were you there?
I was not, although I did catch it, most of it. I'll be honest with you. I fanned through what I would call some of the jokes and fluff. I didn't. So I'm not going to sit here and promise that I watched the whole hour and 19 minutes of it.
Sure, yeah.
But I fanned through, and I caught the interviews with Kimberly Hagan and Russell Kraft and Dave Berger. I did. And so, but my first thought was, knowing that you would be we'd be visiting today. What were your thoughts?
It's anticlimactic, but not. I don't know. I mean, I know what all that's going on.
Right.
What he was telling people isn't news to me.
Right.
So it's fine. I think the mayor, he isn't a joke teller.
No.
But he is good at providing good, solid information on the comings and goings of our community. So I think it's good. I think he should probably do it more often. I always think it's good to give, the community an update on what the city is doing. And certainly the fact that he spent the first half of it thanking the employees, that's great. As far as I'm concerned, he should spend all of his time thanking the employees.
Yes.
And talking about how each employee is responsible for, the new Agristo, for example. That was a massive team effort.
Right.
And so those people probably deserve more kudos than they get. Those are the people working behind the scenes.
One of the things, and again, as a whatever, I guess, member of the media, gadfly, wannabe podcaster, whatever the hell I am these days, one of the things that I thought was interesting was, and the other thing that I believe I know about Mayor Boczynski is, most everything he does is with some level of intention. There's not really, he doesn't waste a lot of his time. If he takes the time to do something, there's generally a meaning behind it. You don't always get to know what it is right away, but you will soon find out.
I would say he's calculated.
Yeah. Yes. So the one thing that I thought was very interesting, and again, my views here is that bringing up Kimberly Hagan, Russell Kraft, and Dave Berger alludes to a relationship, or that he wants you to believe that a relationship, again, my interpretation, nobody else's, is that these are healthy, good, working relationships. Yeah. Would you agree with that?
I would agree that was why he did that, yes.
Okay. Would you agree then that would you agree with the mayor that those relationships are on solid footing?
Sure, generally, yes. I think that, the city gets blamed for everything.
That's true.
Right? And so sometimes I personally disagree with the directions of, mostly in particular, the school board. But I'm sure they don't necessarily always agree with the things that I'm doing. I have a very good working relationship with people on the county commission, people on the school board, people on the park board. I have very good personal connections with them. I think the mayor does too. So if that's what you mean by that, certainly, Dave Berger and I visit often, and it's easy, right? And Mark Rusted and I speak very often, and Terry Bierke and I talk quite a bit, and Tim Scarprud and I actually visit quite often. And not only do we call each other, but we see each other around town and at the gym or wherever, right? And we take time to spend a few minutes and visit. Yeah. And so I'm sure the mayor has that too. And so in that way, yes, I think we have good relationships with the other taxing entities. I don't think the official position of the city of Grand Forks isn't positive or negative on any of them.
Right.
But I mean, the school district, they've had their issues, but they did go out for referendum. They got school built. We pulled together. I mean, they unfortunately weren't the leaders on the CTE, the whatever you call it, the CTE center, the
Career Technical
Academy, right?
Yep.
Like the school district should have been the leaders on there. That should have been Terry Brenner's deal, but he didn't take the lead on it. The city did. Economic development did. We're the ones that went out and raised all the funds. I say we, economic development arm of the city.
Right.
And so we did it, and then gave it to the school district. I don't know why Dr. Brenner wasn't the lead on that. I'm guessing he probably thought we weren't going to get it done, and or he didn't think he could get it done, and he might be right. Maybe he couldn't. I don't think that he was ever going to be left out on an island if he had been asking for help. But he just kind of was arm's length, and so the city and everyone else said, we have to do this, and so we did.
Well,
right?
In part because the state government, Governor Burgum at the time,
said you have to do it.
He said you have to do it, and there's some pretty nice money available if you're able to get it done. And I believe it was Mayor Bochinsky and, like you said, economic development. They got together and said, well, we have to do it. Let's start asking.
If others aren't going to take the lead, we have to do it because we have to do it. And so and I, of course, I'll be honest, I was a complete naysayer. I didn't think we were going to get it done. I didn't think it was possible to raise $10 million in 90 days.
You know what I don't love now? And again, this is small potatoes, and it's all first world problems and all the things. And again, I lived on the North End for 15 years. I just wish it wasn't in that location. I know why it's there. I get it. It just seems like it's so far away from all the other buildings and all the other things. Sure. It'll be fine. Again, it's a first world problem.
By the Alaris Center?
Well, everything should go by the Alaris Center, Dana. Yeah, that's absolutely right. But that's probably a preference thing, but it is gorgeous. I saw a note the other day where as we inch closer to August, or maybe it was during the mayor's speech yesterday, where there's going to be an opportunity to tour it coming up closer, like I say, closer to August, with the idea that it will open for the coming school year. So that's
which is great
news. Yeah.
What I still don't understand, I could be wrong. I don't believe that the state provided any funding for programming or to pay for the people, and that's fine. But the school district didn't have the money. Maybe that's why Dr. Brenner wasn't interested, because he knows he can't pay for it. Maybe the state did come through with some money, but that's. If the state didn't, that's property tax dollars that are going to pay for. And I'm not saying that those things aren't important, but that should be discussed publicly so people actually understand.
Dr. Brenner should say that too. Look, I'm not going to pursue this. If it happens, great. But here's why I'm not pursuing it.
Yeah, whatever.
Exactly. But make a statement on it. Right. Yeah, absolutely. The reason why I ask you that question a little bit that way, I'm going to try to very loosely tie it back to property tax and what the state legislature did with House Bill 1176, which passed the House 86-4, the Senate 46-0. First of all, triples the property tax credit from $500 to $1,600. Legacy Fund will pay for the relief that's offered there at $409 million. So far, so good, right? Relief will grow with the Legacy Fund. So again, taxpayers everywhere nod their head in the affirmative. Looks good. Here's the part that I get that kind of gets my he also a 3% cap on future increases to local property tax budgets. As somebody that's been very involved in a citywide budget for 15 going on 16 years, what makes you think? Where does your head go when you hear that?
So the devil's in the details.
Sure.
I was asking very direct questions when I was in Bismarck of Nathy, of Jarrod Haggart, of others, asking about that. And over and over again, everyone said the cap is on the previous property tax payers. You get to take the growth from new construction. It's only the 3% on the previous payers. So when we as a community looked at previous property tax years, there was only 1 year in the last 10 that we were over 3%, and it was COVID year. Otherwise, we average 1.9% after new growth. And so if we can do that without worrying about it and without actually trying with that as a goal, if we can maintain 2%, 3% should be easy. We shouldn't have any problems. And so I haven't had a problem with it. And as a matter of fact, I've actually been pretty vocal publicly saying the property tax relief is more important than the cap, right? We have to do something. When I say we, the state, like people are clamoring for it. And if the state didn't do something, and I believe that there was going to be another property tax bill, and I think Lauser's already looking to do one, even though I think the property tax relief that the state and the governor's office championed, I think it's fantastic. I think it's, there could be $20 million. I think the mayor mentioned that. This is $20 million, 1,600, 12,000 homes, $20 million in people's pockets walking around our community every year.
Sure.
I mean, it's enormous. And so I think we taxing entities owe it to the taxpayers and the state to honor that commitment.
Does it do anything? So there will be people that will say, we'll see, which of course, whatever that is, whatever. Sure. So we're done with, if you've lived in your home for a period of time, you're not going to see a 15% increase in your property taxes anymore. The most that it can be is 3%. Yes?
I believe so, yes.
Because that's always...
But that's part of the question. See, that's a question that I don't understand either, because we have to, according to state law, be plus or minus 10% of the true and full property value. That's where we have to assess you. So your property value may continue to go up. We'll have to manage it by reducing mills to keep the budget at only 3% more. So your property values will continue to go up. We'll have to manage with mills.
Okay. It always sounds a little bit. So the answer to that question is not, we really don't know yet.
No, we know. I know. I mean, that's the only way it works. Legally, we have to assess your property at true and full value. We have to. And so if your property value goes up 25%, we can't increase you. Well, or can we? See, now I'm questioning it, because really the law is our budget can only go up 3%. That doesn't mean we can't raise JT's property taxes 25%. Right.
So we go to
here we go. I don't know.
So we go to Sande Street, right? And your block gets evaluated, right? And you get a little note in the mailbox that says, because you put a new roof on and added 1,600 feet and did all the things, price of your property went up 25%.
Yep.
Okay, but then of that 25% increase, is that 3%? Can you only take 3%?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay, so then what all the things you did to your house counts as new construction?
No, I don't think that's the case. What I believe is how we can only increase our budget by 3%. How and from whom we collect the dollars is up to us.
I see.
Right.
There's also, if I read the bill right, there's also a way to get beyond the 3%.
In a case of an emergency, yeah.
Well, there's that, and then I believe there's one other way. If you went to the public and you said, "Hey, extraordinary times, we've got a lot of projects. Make your case, whatever that might look like," and the public could go to the polls and say, "It's fine. You can go ahead and relax the restriction. I think you'd have to put it in the bill, what you were looking for, and the public could sign off on it." So in the interest of full disclosure and in talking about this, there are some ways for communities. Yep. There's some. So I encourage you to, those of you that might watch or see this or listen to it, that you take the time to read into it and ask questions of your public officials a little bit. It's interesting, the 3% increase, but the council and the mayor get to decide, more the council than the mayor, get to decide where that 3% comes from. Mm-hmm. And then you have to live within that budget.
That's right.
What does that mean for the other taxing entities?
Same, 3%. they have to live with it as well.
Oof. There's one in particular that's really going to struggle with that.
I'm well aware. They're going to have a real hard time. Well, there are a couple.
Sure.
But the county is in terrible shape right now. And we're fortunate that some of the council members or the commissioners are actually digging in. I think it's going to be a real hard time for the county employees for a while. I'm actually quite worried about them. So, yeah, I'm hoping maybe you should have Rusted on.
Oh, well, I did.
Oh,
And Mark said exactly kind of what you said, was that, it's if we don't act now,
right.
we're
I don't understand what the previous county commissioners were doing. I honestly, they were a complete dereliction of duty.
Well, it didn't seem like they wanted to say no to much.
No, not only that, but they just apparently didn't understand finance. I mean, I feel bad that Debbie Nelson left, right?
Mm-hmm.
She was a longtime county finance person. But where has she been? Like, I don't know her personally at all. I have no beef with her. All I can see is what I see, and she obviously was either being told by the county commissioners to keep her mouth shut, or she just had no idea. She's a finance person that had no idea of how finance works.
Right.
So, yeah, it's unfortunate that she left like right at budget. They were right about to start the budget. So I think Terry was hard on her, and I think because of that, she decided to pack her bags, take her ball, and go. But I don't know how you can't be hard on the finance folks when they're the ones watching the dollars.
Yeah. When you get a budget hawk of sorts like a Terry Bierke in there, that's where his focus is going to be.
Well, especially when they don't have any money.
Right.
Right. Somebody has to be.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So.
Okay, so there's a little wait and see here with this House Bill 1176 and the property tax. So there's a little.
I think it's interesting the cities that were coming out so vocally, adamantly against the caps. I think if you look across the state, there weren't that many, but the ones that were very vocal are the ones that have all the financial problems.
Mm-hmm.
And I take Fargo, for example. I think Fargo was probably the most vocal. And both at their state level representatives as well as the city commissioners. And I think Fargo is on the path to bankruptcy, to be honest with you. The cost overruns on the flood protection. I mean, I wasn't in the rooms. Nobody asked me my opinion. I don't know how they ended up where they did with their flood protection. What I do know is we made the people, the founders here when we had the flood, made the hard decisions, took away the property, put in the dike because that's what we could afford at the time, $400+ million. It made a lot of people mad. And dealt with those difficult decisions, and those people deserve a lot of credit because we've got the Greenway and we've got the greatest flood protection money could buy. The city leaders in Fargo didn't have the stones to do that.
Right.
And so what they've got is canals running around. They've got dikes in people's backyards.
A never-ending project on the interstate.
Right, exactly. And the budget overruns.
Yeah.
And they've already made the commitment that they've already assessed everything that they're going to assess, and they're counting on the federal government and the state. They're going back with their hands out because they don't have the money, because they're way over budget, and they're building. It's just going on. And so at 3%, they're complaining because they know they need to raise property taxes to pay to finish. If there isn't a miracle that happens and somebody walks in with $600 million in a big backpack, they're going to have to come up with that money, and the only way they can do it is special assessing.
Yeah. Again, this is, I think, a good first step towards this issue. We assume, because they're legally bound to do so, that municipalities will adhere to this because, again, you're legally bound to do so. I'm guessing the 27 legislative session, if this is a big cluster and it's too hard and all the things, they'll be standing in front of the same legislators going, you gotta untie our hands here.
Yeah, revamp or whatever.
Yeah, this is, but I think it's a good first step. I think you sort of alluded to it a little bit earlier. I still don't know that it means necessarily that there won't be somebody or a group of somebodies that will step forward and say, well, we don't want no property tax. Just send it off to Bismarck, let Bismarck figure it out. Sure. But still, I think this is a good first step. I wanted to ask you about this, Dana. I think you were asked, I know you were asked about it, I think when you were visiting with Ryan the other day, and it has to do with this camping ordinance. And our police chief is he's not new to law enforcement, obviously, but he's new to Grand Forks. And the first thing I thought about when I heard about this, and Dubinsky had something out of the KNOX newsroom, and I listened to, he had some audio from the chief, and I was listening to that a little bit, and then you were asked about it as well. And I think back to being longtime people of this area, I think what we really appreciate or prefer is if the new guy comes to town and says, hey, listen, homelessness in Grand Forks is a problem. And to make sure it doesn't look like downtown Denver, and or
downtown Fargo,
or I want to make sure that doesn't happen here. So here's what I'm going to say that we should consider doing for our community. Instead, he gets wrapped up a little bit in, no, well, that's not what this is about. I mean, it's not. No, it's we don't want people sleeping on the benches in Town Square. We don't want people sleeping under the awnings at our downtown businesses. We have, and I believe you said it on there's a myriad of programs and options for people that are in this situation. By all means, go visit with almost anybody, and they'll point you in the right direction to get you some help, right? That's the place we live, and part of the reason we live here.
That's right.
So is this a teachable moment for the police chief, you think, or is he handling it okay?
I think the police chief probably still doesn't know all the players in town.
Sure.
And so he's playing it safe. The fact of the matter is this is about the homeless population.
Absolutely.
And the problem, the fact that we have a bunch of derelicts now that are spending all their time in downtown Grand Forks, mostly in the town square, and we need some tools to deal with them. I can assure everyone that it is on the council's mind. There's no question about it. The conversations that I have with other council members, this is the issue we're talking about. And we want to deal with it because we don't want to be Fargo. I feel for Tricia Berg and her concern about criminalizing homelessness. We don't want to criminalize homelessness. Homelessness isn't a crime. But in Grand Forks, if you're a criminal, you're a criminal. And if you're homeless, let's figure out how to make you not homeless. The problem is we have criminals that are homeless that want to be homeless because they want to be criminals. Those people we need to deal with. One step is the camping ordinance. Another one is anyone out there, if you see something, call the police. They'll come and deal with it. The more times we call the police, the more times they then have to face that interaction with the police officer. And ultimately, I think we're going to have to implement some other strategies to deal with it, likely doing what's being done to us, figure out how to get them out of town. And whatever that means, bus tickets, plane tickets, whatever, where is their actual home? Where is their safety net? Let's find out how to reunite you with the people that care about you.
Yeah. Downtown has come together. It's spectacular.
It's amazing.
It's really, in my lifetime, if you would have told me as a young boy that downtown would look like it does one day,
right,
I would have laughed at you.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
1997, for all of its problems, brought forth a little bit of an urban renewal in downtown Grand Forks that was likely needed and maybe forced upon us a bit. And I think we're finally realizing some of that. I believe FEMA officials told us at the time, you're 30-ish years away from looking at, and we were also worried about what's happening right now, but how prophetic and how right was that? Right. But it's gorgeous.
Yep.
And to think that you'd have to worry about your safety or you have to think about somebody panhandling in downtown Grand Forks when you're trying to go eat a nice steak
right,
is something that none of us want to have to deal with.
That's
right?
correct. That is right.
Yeah. So again, is it as simple as going back to the police chief and saying, how about some foot patrol? How about we release some funds for a couple officers that just walk by foot downtown?
I don't know what it is.
Right.
But our police department has an aversion to being on foot downtown. Why? I don't know. But I've been pushing for that for 4 years maybe. Chief Nelson would talk in circles about why they couldn't do it, and I am hearing that since the store manager at the Hugo's got assaulted, that we are having a better police presence downtown. I don't know what that means. Nobody specifically, I haven't had a report from the mayor's office or from PD saying we've done XYZ, but I'm hearing from people that the police presence has been better and things have gotten somewhat better.
Recently, we stayed in downtown Minneapolis, and it wasn't uncommon to walk into a large store and you're greeted with police presence in downtown Minneapolis. Now, I'm in no way comparing the two cities, but if that's what it takes for a period of time to send a message, let's go.
This is not about money. We, as a community, we're fortunate that our coffers are full, and if we need to deal with these things, we should. I think the police department and the shelters and others and the downtown folks are spending a lot of time talking about what are the best ways to humanely and legally deal with these issues. And so I think that everyone's on the same page that we need to fix it. I just don't know if anyone has the right strategy today.
Yeah.
But certainly money, money is not the issue because the city will pay to deal with it.
Well, we all have a lot at risk. I mean, again, downtown is, if you haven't been, I strongly encourage you to go. By the way, take a pass down the University of North Dakota, too, by the way.
It's incredible.
It's incredible.
Kennedy, the guy was really,
horrible bedside manner.
Yeah,
I think I can say this on a podcast. Horse shit bedside manner.
Right, yeah. He and I
awful.
Didn't see eye to eye, but man, did he make a difference.
Oofta.
In our university.
Yeah, no, he
definitely made the hard decision that tearing down the old buildings, people didn't want to do it. He dealt with the backlash and he at least had the stones to do that.
And then took a job in Colorado, and that didn't work out very well for
no, it sure didn't.
Another thing on my mind lately, Dana, is high-speed chases. Oh. We just had one here again a couple of days ago. This one, I think, in a residential area. Again, putting tools in the toolbox of officers. Is that I don't know that Chief Friedman has been standing in front of you guys talking necessarily about this, or maybe he has. But is it something that concerns you as a longtime citizen of our community?
I think it. Sure, yeah, it's concerning to me. I don't understand why, because this isn't a Grand Forks issue.
True.
Like, high-speed chases have been increasing all across the state and all across the country. Why is that? Well, I haven't heard a good reason for why people are deciding that they don't have to pull over when an officer, not only that, then recklessly break the law, trying to evade the authorities. I don't get it. I don't understand why that would be.
Well, I don't know how you raised your beautiful children, but I certainly told Maggie Ray that if you get pulled over, you smile, you respond, get the officer what he needs, and it'll likely go just very well for you. She got pulled over because her father forgot to get tabs for her car, and she said she did just that. And the officer was very nice, wrote the young lady, my daughter, a warning, and Dad got on the stick and got the tabs, and all was well. Nobody had to chase anybody. Nobody had to. So maybe some of it's parenting. Of course, we could hypothesize this to death. It's just it's concerning when a 22-year-old just
right. I'd love to see the statistics on who these people actually are. Is it young people or is it not young? Is it disgruntled 52-year-olds that are pissed off at life because their job sucks? I don't know. What is it?
Yeah, and some of it too.
But
I mean,
certainly it's concerning.
You could tie homelessness into this. You could tie this into this. You could even, I suppose, tie, if you wanted to, very loosely tie property taxes into. Are we struggling just with mental health and what's going on?
And I don't know about but the population in Grand Forks, we're generally pretty well off.
Oh, I would say.
Right. Like the you know, our wages, and certainly in the last few years, the wage growth in our community has been very good. Of course, there's been significant inflation, but I think generally speaking, people are doing pretty well here. People they give a lot of money to local charities and do things like that. And so I don't know. I don't see a lot of disgruntled people. I hear some on your radio station, but I don't see a lot of them.
Yes, yeah, they're certainly around. I can vouch for that. Yeah. All right. So I don't think I've ever had the opportunity to visit with you about this, and that would be on me, not you, because I know all I have to do is call you and you'll visit with me about anything. But the All True Sports Complex.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to break ground on it. It's going to get built, right? Yep. So here's where I've always lacked a little clarity is it gets built, then what?
Well, we have an approved management agreement with the Park District. So the Park District will be managing the new facility. The swimming will be, again, so the Park District's managing the facility. I believe that UND, I don't know if they have an intramural swimming or whatever. So UND, we're signing an agreement with them so that they can get time where the Park District is. They'll get time in the pool. The school district will have an agreement. The school competitive teams will have time in the pool. There's talk about lots of swim lessons. So the Park District will be using the pool, the warm, shorter pool, for lots of swim lessons. And there is talk that you might be able to buy a pass to go swimming.
Well, I mean, you can go on the Grand Forks City website, and you can lose yourself in data, and you can lose yourself in renderings and things, and yeah, there is, I believe, at least one point there was proposed passes. Yep. That you could buy a season pass or a one-time pass or whatever.
It's not open swim.
Right.
The taxpayers paid for it, but it's not open swim. You have to pay to swim.
Mm-hmm.
The turf. I think you'll be able to walk on the elevated walking track for free.
Mm-hmm.
But the turf, I don't think you or I will ever step foot on that turf unless it's our funerals. They'll bring us in. I don't.
Or we're officiating something, maybe.
Right. You might be officiating something,
maybe.
right?
Yeah.
So, but otherwise, we'll never set foot on that. I think the Park District's going to try to work out some sort of a cost to the. Lacrosse club will pay. The soccer club will pay. Everybody will pay to use the facility. I don't think there's any open. Hey, it's open. Let's go play soccer today.
Yeah, it shows, and it starts with. It doesn't look like it. We're planning on it ever making money.
No, it's going to lose $500,000 a year. I bet most people don't know that when they approved the sales tax, they also approved raising their property taxes. People didn't put two and two together.
No. They sure didn't.
Right. And so it will be subsidized with property taxes.
And if the building needs
by the Park District property tax.
And if the building needs something, that's a city issue.
That is a city issue, and the sales tax will cover that. There is enough money left after paying the bonds, after covering the Alaris Center. There is still money left in the sales tax every year to pay for maintenance and upkeep of the facility.
You know, in the interest of full disclosure, I'm the chair of the Alaris Center Commission. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that when this came about that I was concerned with, and I asked the question several times, my experience, my truth was that it was a little bit poo-pooed. I asked several times and wanted to see in writing that the Alaris Center was going to eat first. In other words, if there was a problem at this aquatics facility and there's a problem at the Alaris Center and we've got dueling capital improvement projects, and for some reason all of the sales tax money that needs to fall from the sky doesn't,
sure,
and you only have money for one,
right?
Who eats first?
Should be first. Yeah.
That's and then the other question that I asked is that in this process, which I thought was a good process. I got to know Mike Vattenstall a little bit, and I got a little bit further into Marines. Marines stupid
phenomenal.
smart.
Yeah,
She's
she is.
ridiculously
Yeah,
smart.
and Mike's really good.
Oh yes, they're both.
Yeah,
I mean, we're
lucky.
opposite of what the county has.
Right.
I mean,
We're
let's
very lucky to have
very
them,
lucky.
no doubt.
And in visiting with them, you find out that just talking about the Alara Center, and again, I'll try to tie it back to this. The Alara Center went through a $9 million roof remodel. They went through a suite remodel, and right now, as we speak, they're doing all the conference rooms. Right? So it's $13, $14, $15 million in projects that have come and gone, will come and gone. You can do that twice, from what I understand. So 21 years in, did it the first time. Another 21 years from now, hopefully it'll around that time frame, do it a second time. But it's that third time when you and I will either be acquiescing in some warm place or drooling out of one side of our mouths or whatever. This community is going to have to face what I think is a pretty difficult decision, because they say the third time is the time when you plow the facility under and you start again at a cost of about $1 billion or more.
Likely more.
Likely more. Which sounds like, oh, okay, yeah, whatever. Well, who cares? That's 40 years in the future. The 40 years in the future isn't that long.
That's right.
I got seated 4 years ago on the Alara Center Commission. We started talking about 2029 4 years ago, and look what happened with that tax between the time I've been there and now.
That's right.
It moves very, very fast. So then the question that I asked was, do demographers think that by 2060 or 2061 that Grand Forks should have a population of about 100,000 people? People giggle at that too, but I absolutely see that could vary. It's very plausible. Yeah, absolutely. So then I think, well, 100,000 people go to the ballot box. They'll have an aquatics center that they'll have then 40-ish years of data to look at.
Right.
How's it doing? What are we doing? And oh, by the way, that's going to have to be remodeled, redone, pool added, whatever the flying cart derbies or whatever the hell we're doing 25, 30 years from now is all going to have to be accounted for. And then I asked, then will there be enough money? And of course, the response you get is, well, we can't really. I mean, we're doing better than projected. So the assumption would be that we'd still be doing better than projected.
Sure.
So that I always wondered, and maybe the question for you is, can we afford all this?
No, of course we can't. There's no chance. We can't possibly. In the end, there isn't enough money. We can't do it. I don't know what the future leaders. I don't know how they're going to deal with it. We are going to get the blessing of having 2 really cool facilities for the next 40 years. After that, we're hosed. I have no clue.
I mean, you and I will be 90. Lord bless him. We're still here, and we're coherent.
And we'll both be saying, "I told you so." Yeah. See, I knew it.
But I
like, JT, pull up that podcast again. We need to play that one more time.
Look at this from 2025. It was. I thought it was an interesting question, and in planning, I know sometimes I'm not. This isn't a way for me to ask you about bridges, but we bridges. There's 2045. There's going to be a bridge right down blah blah street.
Right.
We think like that for bridges.
Yep.
Whether we do anything with it or not, it's a completely different topic. Again, not me trying to ask you about bridges, but we have to start the conversation today about what we're going to do in 2061.
Because I believe we owe it to the University of North Dakota, right? They're our biggest tenant. They might not pay the most, but we want them, right? We wanted them. We built the facility for them. If we're not going to be able to maintain that facility or replace it, they should know so that they can start thinking about 40 years from now, because they need a facility. Yeah. Right? I mean, we owe it to them. Yeah. But we don't. I mean, I've kind of been saying this for the last several years that in 2035, we're broke, right? If we hadn't extended the sales tax, 2035, we're done. And so at that point, what are we going to do? Because UND, we're still hosting them. We still have an agreement with them. We should be telling them if we're not going to do something, we should tell them, 2022, 2023, we should be telling them you need to make a plan. But what was so interesting for me through the whole process was, and because of my role on, Jay Clevin was our chair at the time, and I remember him calling me and he's saying, the mayor has an idea, and
he had 15 phone calls to make 7 minutes before a meeting, so I didn't really understand what he was saying. But when I kind of started to wrap my brain around it, the thing that immediately came to mind for me was, well, so in order to extend and not sunset that tax in 2029, we have to figure out a way to split it and build another building.
Mm-hmm.
And the mayor, for his part, just said, look, it's just an idea.
Sure.
Now, again, back to what we said much earlier, or at least I said much earlier about the mayor. I don't believe he does anything without a level of intention to it. Mm-hmm. And so, he knew likely, or had a pretty good idea, that this would be something that the community would embrace and want. And he was right about that. Mm-hmm. So here we are.
I think they'd been doing lots of asking around, asking people. I think they had done a lot of research, right?
Right.
They paid a consultant to do the research.
Well, there's that,
So,
you ever paid a consultant for research and not received the kind of information you were looking for?
You actually want? Yeah, no.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Not how it works.
It's money bad spent.
That's right.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
That's right. That's not how it works.
As I was looking at some of the numbers, a general manager for this thing, they got him projected at $90,000 by the time you hire a general manager. I'm sure it'll be north of $90,000
likely
to run this facility. Aquatics coordinator, $55,000. Again, I expect these numbers will go up 10, 15, 20%. Sure. All the way down to admin, full-time staff, which I assume to be new staff, would be in the neighborhood of $869,164 a year. And that will be paid for by the Park District and managed by the Park District?
Yes.
Wow.
Yep.
All right.
Again, they're projecting each facility, aquatics, because they have the numbers separate. Why? I don't know. It's one building. They expect each facility to lose about $250,000 a year. Starting. That it'll only get bigger over time.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. I didn't feel good about it before our conversation today. I don't feel great about it now.
Well, the interesting part is, as you learned from the mayor's state of the city, because we have the first bid package, we have the bids back, and they have the construction manager at risk, his bid for everything else that hasn't gone out for bid. We have the numbers on all of that. We're after adding the elevated walking track, we're $11 million under budget. We could save that money and use it to fill the gap, right?
Right.
It likely would be pretty close.
Right.
We're going to use that to plan to build basketball onto the building.
Because 5 people were upset we didn't have basketball
courts. People were
courts.
upset about basketball, so we're going to build basketball. So, and $10 million doesn't touch that. I think that was like $25 to $30 million. So I don't know where the rest of that's going to come from, but that's the plan.
Choice Health and Fitness was built largely on donations.
Yep.
And I could have swore, foolish me, and Jim Bowman, who worked here at the time, and I had long conversations about, is this the model going forward? Is this how we're going to do it? You'll get this guy to scratch the earth, and you'll get this person to build the walls, and you'll get this guy to sheetrock, and they can stick their plaque up there and be a legacy member forever.
Yep. And
the facility seems to be doing just fine.
Yeah, it's great. I think Choice is great. It's a perfect example of how things could be done, right? And the Park District said that they would never raise property taxes to pay for it, which they haven't. They just haven't lowered property taxes. Right?
Right.
They could have, but they haven't because they're paying for that building. But that they said they wouldn't raise, and they haven't. Whether you agree with how that works or not, they have met their commitment, and I'm happy for them, and I think it's great. I think the Park District does a great job. I do think, and I'll go back to what I've been saying for years. The Park District should be a department of within the city of Grand Forks.
Preach.
Because we would save millions of dollars annually. And there's the money to pay for the operations of the facility. We would save millions, literally millions.
What's the pushback on that?
Well,
besides the fact that I guess they don't want to work for
You mean from the park district?
Well, I mean, what would be the reasons why? I mean, certainly in other places of this, if I recall correctly, we're like one of 2 or 3 places that actually does it this way.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the name your group. The park commissioners are all avid golfers. They all get a free membership to the Kingswalk Golf.
Forever.
Well, no, I think only while they're on the commission.
I thought it was forever.
No, I don't think so.
It's not forever?
I don't think so. Yeah. But so they don't want to give up their golf membership. I wouldn't want to either.
It'd be a reason for me to run.
Right,
actually.
exactly.
Yeah.
The employees, it's the unknown, right? I wouldn't want to be under the mayor's thumb either, right? I would not want that. So
regardless of what mayor it is, by the way.
Right. Yes, any mayor, whatever. Right. But you know, it is weird though. But because when I brought it up and when we talked about it at city council, the mayor did not advocate for it. Why, I don't know. But now he wants to bring the financially sound Grand Forks Airport as a department within the city when it's cash flow positive.
Right.
The park district is cash flow negative, and we could save millions, and he didn't speak up in that at all.
Right.
So I don't know. I can't understand.
It makes perfect sense. There's probably some duplication in duties, and unfortunately, some people may either get reassigned or lose their job. There's probably some of that they're worried about.
You could just do with attrition. You wouldn't have to let anybody go.
There could be, So again, not having done any sort of analysis of it, I'm guessing that you're right. That yeah, I mean, through attrition and time and whatever else, when that person leaves, we just won't replace them. So Billy Johnson over there in the corner will take over their duties, and we'll all just move on, and it'll be fine.
Right.
But no, it is curious, and it's big. It's big deals like this where you think, well, the other shoe to drop would be, yeah, they're just going to fold it under the city. They're going to show a savings of $8 million a year, $12 million a year. That'll equal out the loss we're going to get at the Aquatic Center. Now I feel really good about having a building like that in my community. Right. And we get a little extra on the back end.
Right.
Why not do that? Yeah. I'm certainly not a prophet, but I've been living here a long time. And I can see the headwinds that are coming. Mm-hmm. And I understand wanting new shiny things out on 42nd. Yep. Makes sense. We all love it, right?
Let's face it. If you're the elected official, that's what people point to. President Kelly, UND, he would openly talk about how he loved building new buildings. I love new buildings. It's all about my legacy.
Yeah.
He would openly talk about, look at that new building. That I did that. You can thank me for the rest of eternity.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I give, back to the Alair Center Commission, I give Ken Veen a hard time. I said, every time I walk out of this building, I see your name on the wall, and you're still here.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And I don't think he really understands what I'm getting at. He just kind of chuckles and walks on. And you're still, that's you, Ken, right there. You're on that placard right there. There you are on the wall. Mm-hmm. Last thing I have for you, Dana, is 42nd Street Underpass.
Oh, yes.
Getting built. I lived over in the gated community there for a while, over there on West Maple. Yep. Congressional 2. Yeah. 15 years. The tracks were there when I moved there. I adjusted accordingly. Mm-hmm. Am I going to sit here and pretend that there wasn't some frustrations over 15 years? Of course there was. I'd be absolutely lying to you. Yeah. Oh. Don't get me started. So I think this is a really good move on just a million fronts. Is there, and there's a timeline, by the way, and it'll be, these things will end up in the show notes, so you'll be able to go right to it if you like. But I believe sometime in 27 it'll be done. We scratch earth later this year. Yes?
We'll see.
Oh.
It has to be done by 2029.
Oh.
It's a 3-year build. That intersection is going to be closed for 2.5 years. Totally closed.
Yeah, because when I was reading this morning, there was talk of what they got to do with a temporary track, and there's a name for it, a spoofy or a spoffy or something, and there's all this different things that got to go on. It's really quite the effort.
It is a major undertaking.
Yeah.
And have you seen the
renderings?
The renderings?
Yeah.
Like it's it's a piece of art.
It is.
Right? I mean, it's going to be magnificent when it's done. And I just hope that I hope we can get all DOT and everyone can get all their gears working together, because there's been no progress. There's something stalling the federal grant money, and I think the agreement for that hasn't been signed. So they still haven't DOT. So it's a North Dakota Department of Transportation project. DOT has been paying consultants, paying engineers, paying people to do work that they can't do because of what's going on with the grant dollars. And so they haven't even started engaging with the landowners. You know, we have to acquire right-of-way. We have to likely have serious discussions with the Circle K right there, because their ingress and egress is going to be completely changed. And I think perhaps that's why Scott decided to sell to Circle K, because it was a good time to get out, right? But so all of those things that likely should have already happened haven't happened.
So Ray Richards Golf Course is affected some way.
Yep, three or four holes, 4 different holes are affected.
So there, where the old driving range used to be, so those that you've either lived here for more than 6 minutes and are aware of Ray Richards Golf Course, I believe there was a developer in town that wanted to put a development there, and the council said no. Is that related to this project?
That is not exactly true.
Okay. I've been wrong before.
Yeah,
it happens a lot.
The university actually went out for RFP. The university wants to develop that land.
Oh.
Both the driving range as well as where the clubhouse is. And so they put all of that land out for RFP, selected a developer to go to commercial with PCL and all the same guys
Sure.
that are doing all sorts of things. And Mike Kuntz is the designer. He's now running a firm in Fargo. So they put together this big plan. The council hasn't said no to anything yet.
Oh.
What we ultimately did was approve them moving forward, that developer moving forward with the paperwork to see what sort of a tax incentive they might get. I voted against it because I think we're putting the cart in front of the horse. That land is zoned to be university. Okay, it's not zoned for commercial development. It's not zoned for apartment buildings. Although the university could put dormitories there, I think it's highly unlikely that the university would build dormitories there, because that is nowhere near the actual school.
Right.
Right. So the university is openly saying that they're upside down on the every year on the golf course. So they want to make money on that land to cover the cost. Plus, they control what's getting built. So as part of this development, they want to build new locker rooms for the golf team, and so it had included a Sweet Shots. It's like a Top Golf concept.
Sure.
A little smaller, and with that, it's heated, and so they get. It's a driving range, right?
Right.
So the golf team gets the driving range, but also the developers can make a few bucks, and then the university makes money on the land lease and whatever else. The neighborhood came out in full force. We had a neighborhood meeting. There must have been 150 people there.
Wow.
That were all dead against this. It doesn't fit there. It's in my neighborhood. I generally speaking agree with the neighbors. When they bought their townhome, twin home, it's a golf course. It's always been a golf course. It's zoned to be a golf course. Why should the university just now, because they want to make a couple bucks, put in a commercial bar with all the lights and the music and the whatever, open till midnight, right?
Yeah.
100 yards away.
Yeah, I see. I mean, I'm sure, like you do with many of these, you see both sides, right?
Yeah, of course.
It's I get that it's a curious place now for a golf course. I love the course. I think Kyle does a great job of keeping it maintained. It always looks great. It's beautiful. It's a nice little 9-hole golf course in Grand Forks, North Dakota. I'm not here to crap all over that. I think that's great. However, the way that the city has developed the projects that are pending, I mean, it might just be time to call a thing and move forward with some other things.
Richard's family won't allow them to redevelop it, right? They want the land back if it's not going to be a golf course. So,
and then they'll develop it?
I don't know. Maybe they'll run it as a golf course.
Well, I mean, it did sit there for 3-4 years with
nothing. That's right. So, that was a poor decision by Kennedy. But so Danny has brought it up in council meetings, and I've been talking this up too. They have to redesign 4 of the 9 holes. Why don't you just redesign all 9 holes and put it on the west side?
Right.
It'll look great from the interstate. That's where you're going to try to draw people from. Nobody's going to complain about it over there. The university, I'm sure, doesn't want to do that because it'll cost a few more bucks. Well, tell the developer to do it.
Right.
And then do it. And it's no big deal. And you're going to be making money off of it anyway. And if you actually do that, you could redesign it in a way where you could possibly do more things.
Yes.
I mean, this isn't that hard.
Yeah. You could also likely find enough land for 18 holes. And
likely.
And you could make a nice challenging golf course that could be suitable for a Division I team.
I mean, think about that golf team, although they do play Ray Richards some, they spend most of their time at the country club.
They do.
Let's face it.
They absolutely do.
Okay, so,
I see them out there on occasion, yes.
So why don't you build there are multiple different plots of land on university campus where they've torn down all these buildings that are the same size as what went out for RFP. Put it on campus if you really want it.
You're right.
What they want is the driving range and lockers. Put it right on campus.
Yep.
That doesn't, but if you think about it though, that doesn't change the fact that they have this land by a golf course that they want to do something with. They want to make some money on that, and they don't want what they want to make money with over here is not what they actually want on campus.
Well, and at the end of the day, I think what this underpass project brings to light is their hand is being forced a bit.
Yes, certainly.
Because if you don't do anything now, you just got a cluster for the remainder of time, and it's not going to be.
I'll give President Armacost kudos and lots of credit. He's been showing up. He's been taking the punches, or Melanie Linder, or the folks in
somebody with a title.
Yep. They're showing up and they're taking the heat. And like Andy Armacost, President Armacost is having a neighborhood meeting himself next week to go and talk to people. And I think however this boils out, I'm very proud of our university that they're willing to actually go and take the hits, because there are a lot of landowners that don't. They wash their hands of that. They let the minions go and try to deal with it. And if it doesn't work, then they still try to push it through. And while they're in there at the country club themselves, right? So.
Yes. Well, Dana, this has been fun. I appreciate you coming out every 18 months. No, I'm kidding. I did say this time, Dana, when I did a podcast, that I was going to do a podcast. I've made it 5 consecutive weeks, so this is awesome. It's a good start. You can find it anywhere podcasts are found. You met Jacob earlier.
For an old guy like me, where do I go and find podcasts?
You have an iPhone?
I do.
That little purple thing that says podcast on it. Not to be a smart ass. No. You just click on it and then type in the Jarrod Thomas Show podcast at the top.
I've heard a podcast in my entire life.
Your podcast will likely drop Tuesday at 9. This one here, it'll be edited. He'll take out all the. Well, you were here obviously for the crap in the beginning and all that stuff. Sure, we'll get edited out, and then he'll polish it up a little bit.
We'll do
that. He's a big dude. He's a big dude.
He's the kind of guy you want on your side on a Friday night at 11:45.
Yeah, he's
some seedy bar.
Yeah, he's a. I've never seen him angry, and that's not a place good. I don't think I ever want to go.
No doubt.
So Dana, thank you again for the time.
This was great.
Yeah, and we'll see what I come up with next week. I got some ideas for next week, but more on that coming up. But Dana Sande, City Council President. I think he more or less confirmed. Still, though, the real boss of the family is Megan. So long as she blesses it, I think maybe.
Everyone that knows Megan knows that
yes.
she's the boss.
I ran into her on the sidewalk one day walking. Yeah, over there by. Hey, Megan. Hey, I see. At least I used to. I haven't seen her out in a while. Your daughter out
Stella
running.
Yeah, Stella.
Boy, she runs.
She's super busy. Yeah, she runs 8 miles is like a no.
That's
whatever.
just
She just goes
crazy.
and rips it out.
And then I think, and maybe this is the dichotomy of your two children. I think I saw your son at the Red Pepper.
Oh,
So I see your daughter out running, and I see him at the Red Pepper.
Breaking news. Breaking news. It's a little known secret. My son Clarkson purchased HB Sound and Light from Tricia and Jamie Lunsky.
Did he really?
He did, yeah, 20-year-old. The federal government gave him an SBA loan, and so he took over a couple weeks ago. Yeah, it's pretty fun.
Do you know if? Well, I can ask you this. I don't have to do this here, I suppose. But is he going to get back into the production business?
He is not going to get in the production business. No, he likes. He's security, audio, visual. Yeah.
20 years old.
Door access. Yeah. 20
Getting his education, starting a business.
Yep.
Or another business. I know he's had others already.
He's transitioning his Genius Technologies company into HB. So.
You got a mogul on your hands.
Yeah, he's something else. Yep. He's fun.
Maybe he'll. Maybe
Well,
he'll make it so you can retire one day.
My daughter's so smart and hardworking. Like, I don't know how. I know how. My wife managed to raise two incredible young people.
Isn't it
going
fun?
To study abroad. She's heading to Norway here next week. Yeah.
For a full year, you think?
No. She's going. I think it's a 6-week program. But
that's
super
still Norway, and Dad can't just show up.
And it was her idea, and she's packing her bags and she's doing it. So I'm like super proud of them, both of them. Go get it.
Awesome. It is so awesome. Well, then again, thank you, and another podcast coming next week.